Shedeur Sanders is doing everything right, commanding the field, reading defenses and delivering picture-perfect throws under pressure. But when the ball hits the hands of Jeudy, too often it ends up on the turf. For a young quarterback trying to build a franchise around his arm, nothing is more frustrating than seeing his work undone by unreliable hands. What's making it worse is the emerging suspicion that these drops aren't just mistakes, they might be personal. And when the same receiver catches cleanly for another quarterback but flounders with Sanders, it's not just fans asking questions, it's the whole NFL.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
This isn't just about protecting a quarterback, it's about shaping a winning culture. The Browns' swift moves to bring in other receivers show a commitment to fixing the problem, not waiting it out. They've seen enough to know that trust is everything in this league, and right now Sanders can't trust Jeudy. That's a deal breaker, and it's why the clock may already be ticking on Jeudy's role in one. The NFL is not taking any chances when it comes to accusations of sabotage, and now Jeudy finds himself at the center of a firestorm. What began as whispers has exploded into full-blown allegations that Jeudy is actively sabotaging quarterback Shedeur Sanders through a suspicious pattern of dropped passes, missed opportunities, and what some analysts are calling deliberate underperformance. Jeudy's hands, specifically their inability to catch even the most accurate of throws, have become a meme across sports media. One commentator didn't hold back, saying Jeudy had weak, fragile, feminine hands, sparking outrage, debates, and even more attention on his dwindling reputation. Every dropped pass now carries an implication. Was it just bad luck, or something intentional? Shedeur Sanders, on the other hand, is being hailed as the Browns' best quarterback prospect in years. His accuracy, decision-making, and poise in the pocket have been praised from every direction. Analysts continue to emphasize that Sanders is making perfect throws, threading the needle under pressure, but those throws are falling to the turf because Jeudy can't seem to hold on. The discrepancy is becoming harder to ignore. When the ball spirals directly into Jeudy's chest and he drops it, fans don't see a bad throw, they see a potential setup. Is Jeudy trying to make Sanders look bad? That's the question echoing on sports talk shows and online forums. This goes beyond simple stats. The consistency of Jeudy's drops, specifically when targeted by Sanders, has started to look like a pattern. And now, some sports radio hosts are outright accusing Jeudy of internal sabotage. According to them, it's not a matter of skill, it's a matter of intent. They point to body language, low effort on routes, and the timing of the drops. These aren't just mistakes, they're happening at key moments, third downs, red zone attempts, critical drives. Even more suspicious is Jeudy's performance variance. When paired with other quarterbacks, his hands seem to work just fine. But when Sanders is under center, everything falls apart. It's a narrative that's getting louder, and the NFL has noticed. Through all this, Shedeur Sanders hasn't publicly called anyone out, but others are doing it for him. Hall of Fame players, respected analysts, and local beat writers are all in agreement. Sanders is not the problem here. His throws are precise. His timing is flawless. And most importantly, his confidence is being undercut by receivers who can't, or won't, do their job. There's a growing belief that Jeudy's issues aren't just coincidental. If anything, they're becoming a liability for Sanders. The quarterback can do everything right and still come up empty, just because the ball gets dropped by the guy who was supposed to be a dependable weapon. The idea of internal conflict in a locker room isn't new, but rarely is it so visible on the field. When a quarterback puts the ball exactly where it needs to be, and the receiver doesn't even try to make the grab, that's not just a mistake, it's a message. And when it keeps happening, people start to ask who it's really aimed at. The Browns' wide receiver room is under a microscope now. And it's not just fans pointing fingers. Local media has started keeping track of Sanders to Jeudy plays. The catch percentage, the drops, the yards left on the table, none of it paints Jeudy in a good light. What makes the story even harder to defend is Jeudy's better performance with Dillon Gabriel. When Gabriel's throwing the ball, Jeudy looks sharper, more focused, and more willing to fight for the ball. That raises a major red flag. Why the sudden competence with another quarterback? Why not give the same energy with Sanders? If anything, this contrast has strengthened the sabotage theory. People are now wondering if there's a personal conflict. Did something happen behind the scenes? Is this ego? Jealousy? Or is Jeudy simply uncomfortable being second fiddle to a rising young star? None of this seems to be affecting Sanders' focus. Even in the midst of the controversy, he continues to deliver. Sanders isn't just surviving under pressure, he's thriving. The only part of the offense that's faltering is the receiving core, especially Jeudy. Which is why so many believe the Browns' real problem isn't at quarterback, it's at wideout. The media has largely rallied behind Sanders. Analysts from national networks have broken down the game film, frame by frame, highlighting just how precise Sanders' passes are. They show the ball hitting Jeudy square in the numbers again and again. And again and again, Jeudy fails to secure the catch. At this point, it's no longer just a performance issue, it's a credibility issue. The Browns are clearly aware of the narrative. They've already made a move that says everything, signing Jamari Thrush and testing out other receivers who are hungry for a spot. That's not just a depth move, it's a threat. If Jeudy can't pull it together, he's out. This team is building around Sanders and there's no room for weak links. There's a real sense that Judy's window is closing. The coaching staff, the front office, even the fans, they've all seen enough. One more dropped pass in a critical moment might be all it takes to push the Browns into making that final decision. Ownership isn't staying quiet either. Jimmy Haslam's recent meetings with the coaching staff reportedly included direct discussion about the receiver situation. The message was clear. The Browns need pass catchers who can elevate Sanders, not drag him down. It's a strategic pivot, and a not-so-subtle message to Jeudy. The Browns have invested heavily in Sanders, and now they're building the team around him. That means trust, timing, and talent. If Jeudy can't offer any of those, he's not just expendable, he's a liability. And Haslam isn't going to let one player derail a quarterback who could be the face of the franchise. So here we are. Jeudy, once considered a top-tier receiver, now finds himself on the verge of irrelevance, all because of a pattern of drops that look less like accidents and more like intentional sabotage. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders continues to prove he belongs. He's doing everything a franchise quarterback should, except getting help from his supposed number one target. The Browns' response is decisive. They're trying new receivers. They're shifting the offensive focus. They're cutting the dead weight. And if things continue this way, Jerry Jeudy might not be wearing a Browns jersey for much longer. If you're watching this unfold in real time, now's the moment to weigh in. Is Jeudy sabotaging Sanders, or is this just an ugly case of decline and denial? Let us know what you think down below. Like, share, and subscribe if you're keeping score at home, and if you're rooting for Sanders to finally get the support he deserves. As the controversy builds, Shedeur Sanders still refuses to get dragged into the mud. He keeps his head down, speaks respectfully in interviews, and lets his game do the talking. There's no shade thrown. No veiled comments. Just a quarterback trying to win games. But the silence doesn't erase the tension, and it certainly doesn't stop the speculation. The media continues to echo the same thing. Sanders is the real deal. His mechanics, footwork, and arm strength have NFL veterans nodding in approval. And yet, game after game, his numbers suffer because his targets keep letting him down. It's a cruel setup. The tape doesn't lie, but the stat sheet makes it look like Sanders is underperforming when he's actually being failed by those around. At the center of that failure is Jerry Jeudy. It's not one or two bad games, it's a trend. Every time Sanders hits him in stride, the ball seems to bounce off Jeudy's hands like it's greased. Fans are dissecting slow-motion replays, pointing out lack of effort, poor hand placement, even body language that screams disinterest. It's become harder and harder to justify his spot on the field. And it's not just about drops anymore. It's about energy, hustle, fight. The things you can't teach. Jeudy looks disengaged. On crucial downs, when Sanders scrambles and needs a bailout, Jeudy doesn't adjust, doesn't come back to the ball, doesn't even fake effort. That's what has everyone wondering. Is this performance or protest? The difference becomes more obvious when you compare Jeudy's performance to other receivers. In preseason, Sanders connected with rookies and third-stringers who ran crisp routes, made contested catches, and fought for every yard. They didn't have Jeudy's resume, but they had heart. And it showed. Fans noticed. Analysts noticed. And so did the front office. Suddenly there was buzz about shifting the depth chart. Guys like Jamari Thrush were getting more reps. Because when Sanders is slinging perfect spirals, you need receivers who can handle the heat. Jeudy, despite all the hype, was failing that basic requirement. Jeudy hasn't made any public statements addressing the sabotage accusations. And maybe that's for the best. Because at this point, nothing he says will change the visuals. People have eyes. They've seen the drops, the slouching, the half-hearted routes. A press conference isn't going to erase 3 weeks of bad tape. Even when he's asked about chemistry with Sanders, Jeudy stays vague. No glowing praise. No accountability either. Just tired cliches and non-answers. It's the kind of silence that says everything. And it's only feeding the narrative that something personal is going on behind the scenes. Against the Dolphins, everything came to a head. Sanders was locked in, throwing lasers, dissecting coverages, putting the team in position to win. But again, the receivers let him down. Jeudy in particular dropped 2 wide-open passes on 3rd down. Both hits right in the hands. Both ended promising drives. After the second drop, Sanders didn't yell. Didn't even flinch. He just walked back to the sideline, helmet on, straight-faced. But everyone watching could feel it. That was the moment it became clear. Jeudy isn't just struggling. He's dragging the team down with him. Despite all of that, Sanders kept firing. He hit tight ends. He found backs out of the backfield. He moved the ball on his own. The Browns' only touchdowns that day came on drives where Jeudy wasn't targeted at all. And that's not a coincidence, it's a strategy shift. Coaches stopped calling Jeudy's number. Routes were redirected. Even in 3-receiver sets, Sanders was looking elsewhere. It was subtle but intentional. The trust had been broken, and in the NFL, once that happens, the game plan changes fast. After the game, head coach Kevin Stefanski was grilled about Jeudy's performance. His answer was diplomatic but firm. We're always evaluating. We expect our guys to make plays. That was all he said, but the message was clear. No one is above the standard. And Jeudy was not meeting it. Behind the scenes, insiders reported that Stefanski and the offensive staff had already begun discussing receiver rotations. The focus was shifting toward building a more reliable unit around Sanders, one that reflects the quarterback's level of play. When Sanders was asked about the drops, he stayed composed. He praised the team, focused on improvements, and kept the spotlight off Jeudy. But you could read between the lines. He emphasized guys stepping up and timing being everything. Translation: he needs teammates who will rise to the moment, not fold under pressure. It's a rare combination of maturity and quiet leadership. Sanders isn't playing the blame game, but he's also not sugarcoating reality. He knows he's delivering the ball exactly where it needs to be. And now, everyone else is starting to admit it too. The tension between Jeudy and Sanders has become a storyline of its own. Photos of the two on the sideline, stone-faced, no interaction, are making rounds on social media. No eye contact. No handshakes. No chemistry. It's like watching two players from rival teams forced to share a huddle. And if the body language wasn't enough, the lack of in-game connection seals the deal. There's no rhythm. No spark. Just wasted potential on one end and rising stardom on the other. The disconnect is impossible to ignore. So what happens next? The Browns are at a crossroads. They've got a young quarterback with elite tools, but his growth is being stunted by receivers who can't, or won't, meet the moment. Signing new players like Jamari Thrush isn't just about depth, it's about urgency. If they don't fix this now, they risk wasting a golden opportunity. Jeudy's time in Cleveland feels like it's ticking down. Every game, every drop, every missed route is another nail in the coffin. Meanwhile, Sanders is winning over fans, coaches, and analysts with every drive. The spotlight is shifting. And Jeudy's role in this drama might be nearing its final act. Every week, Sanders shows up early to practice. He's the first one on the field, throwing routes to backup receivers, walk-ons, anyone who's willing to grind. He doesn't care about egos, he cares about execution. And that work ethic is starting to reshape the Browns' offense from the inside out. While veterans like Jeudy continue to coast on name recognition, Sanders is building timing with the new guys, receivers with something to prove. And when game day hits, that chemistry shows. The throws are still perfect, but now the catches are starting to match. In contrast, Jeudy's vibe has changed. He doesn't look like a guy fighting to keep his spot. He looks like someone bracing for impact. When he finally spoke to the media again, it was defensive. He blamed the media noise and outside pressure, but never took responsibility for the drops. No ownership, no acknowledgement. Just vague frustration and a hollow promise to do better. That moment told fans everything they needed to know. Jeudy doesn't see the issue, or doesn't care to. Either way, it explains why things keep spiraling. You can't fix what you refuse to face. Against the Patriots, the Browns had a shot at redemption. Sanders opened strong, hitting quick slants, extending plays with his legs, moving the offense with rhythm. But again, the passing game sputtered when Jeudy became the target. 2 drive-killing drops in the first half. Miscommunication on a sideline route that led to an incompletion. And then, on a deep shot that could have flipped momentum, Jeudy didn't even look back. That play broke the fan base. You could hear the boos at home. Not for the quarterback, but for the guy who refused to turn around on a perfectly placed bomb. It was the kind of moment that rewrites a narrative forever. Still, Sanders powered on. He adjusted. He spread the ball around. Tight ends, backs, backup receivers, he found ways to move the chains. And when he wasn't getting support through the air, he tucked the ball and ran. He played like someone who knows the window is closing fast, and refuses to let that stop him. That competitive fire is why the Browns are backing him. And it's why the fan base has rallied around him, even as the losses pile up. Sanders is doing his job. Jeudy is not. It's really that's one. Now, every time Jeudy steps on the field, it feels like a countdown. The coaching staff is evaluating every snap, every route. The drops aren't just stats anymore, they're evidence. And with every replay that hits social media, the case against him grows. What used to be whispers of underperformance have become full-blown debates about whether Jeudy should even be active on game days. The trust is gone. The patience is thin. And the leash is getting shorter. Sanders, ever the professional, was asked point-blank whether he still trusts his receivers. He paused. Gave a long, measured answer. He said he believes in his teammates but that everybody's got to do their job. It was subtle but sharp. A reminder that he sees what we all see, and he's not going to cover for anyone. You could feel the tension behind those words. He's not a rookie anymore. He knows what leadership requires. And right now, it requires him to carry the team while someone else keeps dropping the ball. There's a photo making the rounds, Sanders walking off the field, helmet in hand, eyes forward. Jeudy trailing behind, staring at the turf. No words exchanged. No connection. It might as well be a metaphor for the entire season. The gap between them is growing, both figuratively and literally. And at this point, it's hard to imagine how the Browns can repair that kind of fracture on the fly. It's not just about dropped passes anymore. It's about trust. And that's something no coaching scheme can fake. Enter Jamari Thrush, the new receiver who's quickly becoming Sanders' go-to guy. He doesn't have Jeudy's accolades, but what he lacks in hype, he makes up for in hunger. He runs hard, blocks when needed, and, most importantly, he catches everything thrown his way. Thrush is earning trust the old-fashioned way, by showing up. And as the weeks go on, it's clear he's being groomed as the replacement. The snaps are shifting. The targets are changing. And Jeudy's name is showing up less and less in the game plan. Head coach Kevin Stefanski was asked whether there's a receiver shakeup coming. He didn't deny it. We're looking for consistency. If guys make plays, they'll get more opportunities. It was vague. But in this situation, vague means everything. The team is sending a message, loud and clear. Production matters. And loyalty to big names won't override what the film shows. If Jeudy wants to keep his spot, he has to earn it back. Fast. Through all of this, Sanders hasn't blinked. He's still grinding, still leading, still launching passes with sniper-level precision. The talent is obvious. The tape speaks louder than words. And now, with new weapons stepping up, he might finally get the support he's earned. The real story here isn't just Jeudy's downfall, it's Sanders' rise. A young quarterback holding it together through drama, sabotage accusations, and media chaos. He's proving that he's not just a flash in the pan. He's the foundation of whatever comes next in Cleveland. And if Jeudy can't catch up, literally and figuratively, then this team will leave him behind. When the Browns lined up against the Vikings, the coaching staff didn't even bother hiding the shift. Jeudy was on the field for fewer snaps than usual, and Sanders barely looked his way. It was the clearest sign yet that trust had been lost. Sanders went to other receivers, tight ends, even checked down more than usual, anything but forcing the ball to someone who might drop it. And the results? Cleaner drives, fewer wasted plays, and better momentum. It wasn't a breakout win, but it was a glimpse of what the offense could look like without the drama. Without the hesitations. Without the anchor. Meanwhile, the shots of Jeudy on the sideline told their own story. Sitting alone, helmet on the bench, arms crossed. Coaches walked past. No one stopped. He wasn't being screamed at, but he wasn't being included either. That isolation speaks louder than any post-game quote. This is what it looks like when a team starts moving on. Quietly. Without announcements. They just stop needing you. And in the NFL, that's a slow fade into irrelevance if you don't fix it fast. Against the Titans, Kevin Stefanski doubled down on what he called alignment. Code for syncing the right players with the quarterback. It was his most telling quote yet. We have to surround our quarterback with guys who want the ball and will fight for it. No names were mentioned, but the implication was crystal clear. He's not going to protect a receiver who isn't producing. Not when his QB is throwing darts and getting let down. The playbook is changing and the personnel is catching up. This isn't about egos. It's about efficiency. In his next presser, Sanders was asked again about chemistry with his receivers. This time his tone was even firmer. We're building something. That means accountability top to bottom. We can't afford mental lapses and drops. Every play matters. That wasn't just a quote. That was a line in the sand. It's rare to hear a young quarterback speak with that kind of command. But Sanders isn't interested in playing politics. He wants wins. And he's not going to let underperformance ride just because someone has a name on the back of their jersey. When the Browns played the Ravens, Jeudy was barely a factor. 1 target. No catches. Sanders didn't even look his way unless the route absolutely demanded it. Instead, the ball went to Thrush, to the tight ends, to backs coming out of the flat. And it worked. The offense didn't light up the scoreboard, but it was functional. It was steady. And that's all Sanders needs. Reliable weapons. Not highlight chasers. Not guys worried about touches. Just teammates who will finish what he starts. At this point, the film on Sanders is undeniable. He's putting the ball in the perfect window over and over again. Slants, fades, crossers, go routes, it doesn't matter. He's making the throws. The only thing missing has been consistent hands on the other end. And now that he's finally getting that, even if it's not from the star names, the offense is quietly evolving. It's not flashy yet, but it's effective. And with every game, the spotlight moves a little more away from Jeudy, and a little more onto the players who want to build something with Sanders. Jeudy finally broke his silence again, and honestly, it didn't help his case. He deflected. He called the criticism crazy. Said people were blowing it out of proportion. But he never once addressed the facts. The drops. The disappearing effort. The footage. That's the problem. The tape doesn't care about reputation. It doesn't lie. And right now that tape shows a receiver who either can't handle the pressure, or doesn't want to. Either way, his future in Cleveland is on life support. And if we're being real, it might already be over. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the Browns cut ties with Jeudy? Is Sanders finally getting the teammates he needs? Hit that like button if you're done watching perfect passes fall to the ground. Share this if you've been yelling at your TV every Sunday, and make sure you're subscribed. Because the season might be messy, but the truth? It's never been clearer.